Good morning everybody. I am Dr. Nitin Joshi, Professor in Neurology with teaching experience of 25 years working as consultant neurosurgeon in Panvel. Today we will discuss TR syndrome. Being a long topic, we will discuss in two parts, that is part 1 and part 2. Now whenever it is asked in theory question, then in introduction one can write that in spite of advancement in the surgical techniques as well as anesthetic management, the TR patients which are undergoing the procedure, of that about 2 to 20% of the patients still show one or two manifestation of TR syndrome, and 0.5 to 5% of the patients die perioperatively. The other names of TR syndrome are dilutional hyponatremia syndrome or water intoxication syndrome or hypoelectrolytemia. Now we will start with the Viva questions. The first Viva question, doctor, what is TR syndrome? Then you will say, sir, after TRP, when serum sodium level falls below 125 milliequivalents per liter and show one or two manifestation, two or more manifestation of involvement of central nervous system or cardiovascular system in terms of yawning, restlessness, agitation, anxiety, disorientation, confusion, headache, nausea, vomiting, bradycardia and hypertension is called TR syndrome. Next question, doctor, though typically it is called as TRP syndrome, can it occur in some other procedures, and if yes, what are they? Answer is yes, that in addition to TRP, other endourological procedures where this can present is URS, PCNL, TRBT, and in gynec procedure it can be in case of transcervical resection of endometrium. Next question, doctor, how TR syndrome can be classified depending upon severity and duration of onset of symptoms? Then TRP can be classified depending upon the severity of symptoms as A, mild to moderate TR syndrome, and B, severe TR syndrome, while depending upon the onset of TR syndrome, it is classified as immediate TR syndrome or delayed TR syndrome. Next question, doctor, what do you mean by immediate TR syndrome? Sir, immediate TR syndrome means when the presentation of signs and symptoms suggestive of TR syndrome are present immediately, that is intraoperatively, that is as early as 15 minutes after starting resection or at termination of the procedure or 1 to 2 hours within post-op period is called immediate TRP syndrome. Then doctor, what is mean by the delayed TR syndrome? Sir, the delayed TR syndrome means when the signs and symptoms suggestive of TR syndrome present as late as 24 hours after the surgery. Then question can be asked, doctor, what is the most common cause of or accepted cause of delayed TR syndrome? The most accepted cause of the delayed TR syndrome is absorption of irrigation fluid which has been extravasated in periprostatic and perivesical tissue spaces. The next question which will be asked, doctor, normally in every TRP some amount of irrigation fluid is always absorbed into circulation. What is this normal rate of absorption of irrigation fluid in circulation? Sir, the normal rate of absorption of irrigation fluid in circulation is 20 cc per minute. Next question, doctor, as per guidelines, in order to prevent or reduce the risk of TR syndrome, why one should limit the duration of resection 60 minutes? Answer, sir, in every TRP some amount of irrigation fluid always gets absorbed in circulation. The studies have shown that normally the rate of absorption of irrigation fluid is 20 cc per minute. So in 1 hour, that is 60 minutes, the amount of fluid absorbed will be 60 multiplied by 20, that is approximately 1 to 1.2 liters in 1 hour. Normal person with normal cardiac performance and normal cardiovascular system, 1 to 1.5 liter addition to circulatory system will not harm the patient. But as the duration of the procedure increases, the amount of irrigation fluid absorbed into circulation will increase, and it will result into increased stress and strain on cardiovascular system, causing harm to the patient. And hence, in order to avoid or reduce the risk of TR syndrome, as per guidelines, one should restrict the resection timing to 60 minutes. Next question. Studies have shown that the amount of absorption of irrigation fluid in circulation increases with increase in intravesical pressure. Doctor, on which two components does this intravesical pressure depend? Answer, sir, the intravesical pressure depends upon two components, namely hydrodynamic component of irrigation system and second, that is hydrostatic pressure within the irrigation system. The next question will be asked, doctor, on which two component does this hydrodynamic component in irrigation system depends? The answer is the hydrodynamic component in irrigation system depends upon the viscosity of irrigation fluid and the diameter of the tubing, that is TR set. Next question. Normally, what is the approximate value of hydrodynamic component of the irrigation system? Answer is, sir, normally the hydrodynamic component in irrigation system is about 5 cm of water. Next question. Doctor, normally what is the approximate pressure in prostatic venous sinus? The answer is, sir, the approximate pressure in prostatic venous sinus is 10 cm of water. Next question. Normally, according to the studies, up to what level of intravesical pressure does the risk of TR syndrome is minimal? The risk of TR syndrome is minimal when the intravesical pressure is less than 20 cm of water. Next question. Normally during TRP, rate of absorption of fluid is approximately 20 cc per minute. Normally, where does this fluid get absorbed? Whatever is the fluid is absorbed, normally 1/3 is absorbed in the venous circulation, that is submucous venous plexus, and 2/3 gets absorbed into periprostatic and perivesical tissue spaces. Next question. Doctor, what are the factors on which the amount of absorption of fluid in TRP depends on? Normally, the factors on which the amount of absorption of irrigation fluid in TRP depends is the duration of resection time, safe up to 60 cm. Second, height of irrigation system above the symphysis pubis of the patient, safe up to 60 cm of water. Third, that is the duration of head-low position, that is whether the patient is in supine or head-low position during the TORP, any capsular injury or major capsular perforation, and presence or absence of torn venous sinus. Next question. In TRP, why height of irrigation fluid 60 cm above symphysis pubis is considered ideal? The answer is, sir, the rate of flow of fluid per minute required for adequate irrigation is 300 ml per minute, and this rate of flow of fluid per minute is achieved when the height of irrigation system above symphysis pubis is 60 cm. The studies have shown that the risk of TR syndrome is minimum when the intravesical pressure is less than 20 cm of water. At the height when the irrigation system is about 20 cm above the symphysis pubis, I mean up to 60 cm above the symphysis pubis, the intravesical pressure remains only up to 20. It gives the optimum irrigation flow and the risk is minimum, so it is considered as safe as well as optimum and hence ideal. Also, the studies have shown that as the height of irrigation above symphysis pubis increases above or beyond the 60 cm, then at 70 cm the hydrostatic pressure increases double, hence the rate of absorption increases significantly and hence the risk of TR syndrome significantly increases, and so the height of irrigation system above symphysis pubis 60 is considered as ideal. Next question. During TRP, how position of the patient can affect the amount of fluid absorption? Studies have shown that when patient is in head low of 20 degree, then the intravesical pressure needed to initiate absorption of the fluid is only 2.5 cm of water, while in supine position the intravesical pressure needed to initiate absorption of the fluid in circulation increases to 12.5 cm. So in head low position of 20 degree, even at low intravascular pressure, the absorption of the fluid increases, and so longer the duration of the patient in head low position, more is the chance of absorption in circulation, and hence increasing the risk of TR syndrome. Doctor, in TRP, when this 20 degree head low position may be required? Answer, sir, whenever I am resecting anterior lobe between 11 and 1 o'clock position, this head low position of 20 degree may be required. Next question. Doctor, why torn venous sinus is the most important risk factor in development of TR syndrome? Answer, sir, the venous sinus is a low pressure system. So when venous sinus is torn, finding and controlling this torn venous sinus is difficult. This is because being low pressure, even a minor jet of irrigation fluid will wash away this slowly flowing continuous ooze from the torn venous sinus, thus finding the opening present in the torn venous sinus difficult. Also, whenever an attempt is made to find the hole in the torn venous sinus by increasing the rate of irrigation fluid, by increasing the height, the increase in the height will result into increased hydrostatic pressure, and when there is increased hydrostatic pressure in the irrigation system, when it is beyond the prostatic venous pressure, then there is flow from high pressure to low pressure, that is into torn venous sinus, and the flow of irrigation fluid in this torn venous sinus results into two things, that is obscuring the hole in the torn venous sinus and infusion of huge volumes of electrolyte free irrigation fluid into circulation. This results into extensive stress and strain on the circulatory system, as well as water intoxication, that is dilution of various components of the blood, particularly dilutional hyponatremia, and hyponatremia results into hypoosmolarity. The studies have shown that the severity of symptoms of TR syndrome is proportional to the severity of fall in serum sodium as well as rate of fall. And in case of torn venous sinus, the fall in serum sodium is significant at a faster rate, and hence torn venous sinus is an important risk factor for development of TR syndrome. Next question. What are the most commonly used irrigation fluids in monopolar TRP? The most common used irrigation fluid in monopolar TR is the 1.5% glycine and the sterilized water. Next question. Doctor, of these two, that is 1.5% glycine and sterile water, which irrigation fluid is preferred and why? Of these two irrigation system, that is 1.5% glycine and the sterile water, 1.5% glycine is preferred. This is because the sterilized water is too hypotonic, and in case of hypotonicity, the principle of physics is that there is a flow of fluid from low osmolarity to hyperosmolarity across the semi-permeable membrane till the equilibrium is reached. So whenever this hypoosmolarity fluid is absorbed, this results into hypoosmolarity of the plasma. As a result, there is flow of fluid from plasma into the RBC. This will result into swelling of RBC, causing lysis, resulting into the release of the contents of RBC, that is hemoglobin and potassium. This results into hyperkalemia, cardiac dysfunction. Also, when there is increased hemoglobin level and is beyond to be capacity to be bind by the hemoglobin binding protein, that is haptoglobulin, this will result into filtration of hemoglobin at the level of glomerulus, causing hemoglobin and in acidic urine, hemoglobin urea will result into formation of acid hematine formation, causing blockage of renal tubules and renal failure. Also, hypoosmolarity of the plasma will also result into flow of fluid from plasma into the cells of various parenchymatous organs. Most dangerous is the brain. So there will be flow of fluid from plasma into the neuronal cells of the brain. But the brain is enclosed in the closed cavity, that is the cranial bones. And because of the entry of fluid in neurons, there will be cerebral edema, that is brain edema. And this results into increased brain volume, but it is enclosed in a closed compartment. As a result, there is increased intracranial tension. Increased intracranial tension will result into compression of the intracerebral vessels. Compression of intracerebral vessels will result into central hypertension due to increased peripheral resistance. Also, compression of cerebral vessels will result into decreased cerebral perfusion, resulting into cerebral dysfunction secondary to cerebral hypoxia. Also, because of raised intracranial tension with limited space, there will be pushing of the brainstem through foramen magnum of the skull bone, causing coning or herniation. The brainstem is pushed through the foramen magnum, and the most proximal part is medulla oblongata, which contains the vital centers. Most susceptible is the medullary respiratory center, causing permanent damage to the respiratory center, respiratory arrest and death of the patient. 1.5% glycine is not really isotonic to the plasma because osmolarity of the plasma is 290 milliosmoles per liter, while the osmolarity of 1.5% glycine is 230 milliosmoles per liter. However, hypotonicity of the 1.5% glycine is much less than the sterile hypotonic water, and so the risk of entry of water into RBC causing hemolysis and hyperkalemia with hemoglobinuria, blockage of renal tubules, renal shutdown and renal failure is minimal. Also, 1.5% glycine is available in pre-sterilized pack, and so man-made errors of sterilization, which is possible in case of sterilized water, is minimum or is nil in case of 1.5% glycine, and so 1.5% being safe, it is preferred over the sterilized water. Next question. In monopolar TUR, which characteristic feature of irrigation fluid is quite important in addition to the other characteristic feature of an ideal irrigation fluid? In the monopolar TUR, the characteristic feature which is quite important is that the irrigation fluid should be electrolyte free, that is non-conductor of electricity. This is the characteristic which is in addition to ideal characteristic features of the irrigation fluid, it should be present. Next question, that is, what are the characteristic feature of an ideal irrigation fluid? The characteristic feature of an ideal irrigation fluid are that it should be isotonic, non-hemolytic, non-toxic, inert, transparent, cheap, easily available, sterile or can be easily sterilized, and in monopolar pottery it should be electrolyte free. Next question. In what concentration irrigation fluid glycine is available, which is commonly used and why? The irrigation fluid glycine is available in three concentrations, namely 1.2%, 2.2% and 1.5%. Of these, 1.5% is commonly used. This is because 2.2% glycine, though it is isotonic with plasma, and hence the risk of the hypotonicity, that is the entry of the irrigation fluid after absorption in circulation, causing hypotonicity of the plasma, hence entry into the RBC, causing hemolysis, hyperkalemia, hemoglobinuria, blockage of renal tubules, is not present in case of 2.2%. But when it is absorbed, the glycine toxicity, the frequency and severity is significant. On the other hand, 1.2% glycine, when absorbed, the risk of glycine toxicity is nil, but it is like hypotonic water. It is like a sterile water, that is hypotonic, and so there is always a risk of entry of water, that is this when it is absorbed in the circulation, hypotonicity of the plasma will result into entry of the fluid part of the plasma into RBC, causing hemolysis and hence hyperkalemia, hemoglobinuria, blockage of renal tubules and renal shutdown. 1.5%, though it is not isotonic, it is much less hypotonic than 1.2% plasma, and the toxicity of glycine, the severity and frequency is much lesser than 2.2% glycine, and hence commonly used glycine is 1.5% glycine. Next question, that is, when patient with TR syndrome present? The patient with TR syndrome present as early as the 15 minutes after starting of resection or as late as 24 hours post-op. Next question. Up to what level of serum sodium usually there are no signs and symptoms of TR syndrome? The signs and symptoms of TR syndrome are not present till the serum sodium falls below 125 millicolumns per liter. Next question. What are the earliest symptoms of TR syndrome? Sir, the earliest symptoms of TR syndrome are yawning agitation, anxiety, apprehension, restlessness, disorientation, confusion, convulsion, coma. I'm sorry. The earliest symptoms of the TR syndrome, these are the CNS manifestation. The earliest symptoms will be always a pricking or prickling sensation or burning sensation in head, face, neck, yawning, restlessness, nausea and vomiting. These are the earliest symptoms. The next question will be, what are the CNS manifestations? Then it will be the yawning, then there will be agitation, anxiety, restlessness, apprehension, disorientation, confusion, convulsion, coma. There will be nausea, vomiting, headache. These are the CNS manifestation. Next question, what are the consistent signs of TR syndrome? Hypertension with bradycardia are the consistent signs of TR syndrome. Next question, what is the explanation for this consistent signs, or what is the physiological law for this? The persistent sign in case of TR syndrome is hypertension with bradycardia, and it is based on the Berry's law. That is, the heart rate of the patient is inversely proportional to the blood pressure. Next question, what are the two most predominantly affected systems in TR syndrome? The most common or most predominantly affected system in TR syndrome are central nervous system and cardiovascular system. What are the signs and symptoms of the central nervous system, which is suggestive of TR syndrome, which we have seen, and that is the patient will have yawning, then there will be restlessness, agitation, anxiety, there will be disorientation, confusion, convulsion, coma, there will be the headache, nausea, vomiting. Then what are the signs and symptoms of cardiovascular system and pulmonary system suggestive of TR syndrome? The pulmonary and cardiovascular system suggestive of TR syndrome are, there will be tightness in the chest, chest pain, difficulty in breathing, respiratory distress, cyanosis, Ralph's auscultation, then bradycardia with hypertension or hypotension with tachycardia and raised GBP, suggestive of TR syndrome. Next question, what are the risk factors for the development of TR syndrome? There are 4 pre-op, that is the volume or the size of the prostate more than 45 grams, then uncorrected pre-existing pre-op hyponatremia, third, that is the active urinary tract infection which is not treated, fourth, that is present or past nicotine abuse, then intra-op duration of resection more than 60 minutes, then the height of irrigation above symphysis pubis above 60 cm, then capsular perforation or the major capsular perforation, torn venous sinus and head low position at 20 degree for a longer duration. Next question, one of the component in the pathophysiology of TR syndrome is hypervolemia. Doctor, explain how hypervolemia is responsible for TR syndrome. Answer, sir, hypervolemia results because of absorption of the huge volumes of electrolyte free irrigation fluid in circulation. This absorption results into extensive stress and strain on the cardiovascular system, that is increased workload on the left ventricle. If the myocardium of the left ventricle is not able to cope up with this increased workload, this will result into left ventricular failure, causing back pressure changes to left atrium and pulmonary vasculature. This will result into pulmonary congestion and pulmonary edema. Also, because of increased blood volume, there will be increased venous return, increased stroke output, increased cardiac output, and hence increased blood pressure. Increased blood pressure will result into increased hydrostatic pressure, that is increased driving force. On the other hand, because of absorption of the fluid, that is water intoxication, there is dilution of the various components of the blood. This will result into dilution of even plasma proteins and hence fall in oncotic pressure. As a result, there will be fall in the retarding force. So increased driving force and decreased retarding force, resulting into increased filtration of the fluid from intravascular compartment into extravascular compartment of various parenchymatous organs. Particularly dangerous is case of lungs. In case of lungs, this accumulated interstitial fluid edema will progress to pulmonary edema, And so in TR syndrome, pulmonary edema develops from two causes, and there is left ventricular failure and increased filtration of fluid from intravascular compartment into extravascular compartment. And so there will be respiratory symptoms of tightness in the chest pain, there will be difficulty in breathing, there will be rales, and there will be cyanosis. In addition, because of increased absorption of the fluid, there will be water intoxication. Water intoxication will result into dilution of the sodium, resulting into dilutional hyponatremia. Sodium is normally responsible for excitatory function of the cells as it is required for firing of the action potential. Most important is in the excitatory cells of the neurons and the cardiac muscle. So hyponatremia will result into cerebral dysfunction and CNS manifestation. Also, this fall in serum sodium will result into hypoosmolarity. And whenever there is hypoosmolarity, there is always flow of fluid from low osmolarity across the semi-permeable membrane towards the higher osmolarity of the fluid till the equilibrium is reached. And so there will be flow of fluid from plasma into various parenchymatous organs. Most dangerous is the brain, where there is flow of fluid from plasma into the neuronal cell causing the cerebral edema. But we have seen that the brain is enclosed in the cranium, that is the closed space. Increased brain volume with closed compartment results into raised intracranial tension. Raised intracranial tension results into compression of the cerebral vasculature. This results into cerebral hypoxia, resulting into cerebral dysfunction. Compression of cerebral vessels also results into increased peripheral resistance, causing central hypertension. Because of increased intracranial tension, there will be pushing of the brainstem through the foramen magnum of the skull bone, causing what is called as coning or herniation. The most proximal part is medulla oblongata, which contains very vital functioning centers. Most susceptible is respiratory center, causing respiratory arrest and spontaneous death of the patient. And thus hypervolemia is very important risk factor and pathophysiological factor or the component of the pathophysiology of TR syndrome. Next question, hyponatremia is also one of the component in the pathophysiology of TR syndrome. Doctor, what are the causes of hyponatremia in TRP? One of the cause of the hyponatremia is dilutional hyponatremia, that is water intoxication. There is absorption of huge volumes of electrolyte free solution in the circulation. Second, that is during the resection, if there is capsular injury, this results into seepage of the irrigation fluid into periprostatic and perivesical tissue spaces. Every 100 ml of the fluid is accompanied by the loss of 10 to 15 milliequivalents of sodium, thus loss of sodium. Third, that is there is loss of sodium from the resection site into irrigation stream. Fourth, if it is uncorrected pre-op hyponatremia. And fifth, when you are using 1.5% glycine and it results into glycine toxicity. Increased glycine causes increased release of atrial natriuretic peptide, causing increased natriuresis, that is loss of sodium in urine, and overall effect that there will be hyponatremia. Here we finish the first part of TR syndrome. Next aspects of TR syndrome we'll see in the next class. Thank you very much.